Come on, B. Oh, I just love it. Well, good evening, gentlemen. Today is a good day. It's beautiful weather, and I'm ready to talk about something. So let's just dive right into this video. Grab your pipe if you have one. Today I'm smoking out of my Crown Jewel 102 or 1002 pipe with some Boswell's Northwoods in it. It's a great blend if you haven't tried it. I love it, and trying to get through this 10 so I can pop a fresh one open. But I digress yet again, just like any other video. Today I wanted to talk about a subject that's been on my mind that has been brought to my attention a couple of times recently. And if you haven't noticed, yes, I'm sporting a brand new mustache. I haven't decided if I like it or not, so I don't know if I'll keep it or if I'll go back to my Fu Manchu or whatever you call what I had before. But today's video is going to be talking about why we should never stop learning. And what got me on this subject was I was on my way home and listening to some statistics, like I normally do. Doesn't everybody just listen to random statistics when they're on their way home from work? I don't know. But I was listening to a statistic, and it was talking about the average male in the United States stops actively learning or educating after the age of about 24 when they graduate college. And I was thinking about how dangerous that is. And not just on the educational level, but also on the relationship level, on the spiritual level, on the lifestyle level, just generally learning as a person. It can be extremely dangerous. And I see a lot of examples of why it's so dangerous these days. Now, speaking on the educational side, I can understand that. You see, we've grown up our entire lives being bombarded by this educational system from the age of, kindergarten all the way up through college. It's nothing but 8 hours a day in school and, always 5 days a week, and we have to wake up early and we have to do homework when we get home, this and that. Now, I was homeschooled, so you could say I was privileged to not have to go to school every day, but I still had school to do online primarily. And so I understand where they're coming from on the fact of our minds are just bogged down with so much stuff, so much head knowledge, that we tend to want to take the rest of our lives and just be like, you know what, I learned enough, okay? I know enough. I did all these extra curricular activities and extra credit and all these extra classes in school. I know enough. I don't need to learn any more stuff. And I see where people are coming with that, but you have to understand how dangerous that can be. You see, when we stop learning, we genuinely stop caring about particular subjects, situations, people, ourselves, even. And we're just in for a roller coaster of a ride through life. If I stopped learning educationally, it can get me in a lot of trouble when I run into a situation where I know enough about what I believe is correct compared to what somebody else who's coming at me with their knowledge knows about what they believe. And if you can educate yourself enough on both sides, to give an example, let's talk about political, because politics is something everyone understands in the U.S. for the most part. Two main sides. You got your Democrats and you've got your Republicans, right? And let's say I'm a Republican and you're a Democrat, and I come to you and we start talking about a particular subject, and I'm throwing everything I have. Well, you're wrong. I'm saying to you, well, you're wrong, and here's why you're wrong, because this is everything I know. And then you're coming at me with, no, you're wrong, because this is everything I know, and this is why you're wrong. And we never actually know what the other person believes and what they think. We're just throwing what we think is right at them, but we don't understand why they think what they think. That becomes a big problem. So, what I would suggest in those sort of instances with education is to make sure you're not only learning what you want to learn educationally to come to understand what you think is right, but also learn what other people believe and why they believe it. Go ahead and start studying that. And your opinion, your views might actually change. Not particularly on any subject, but your views might actually change when you start delving into what they believe and why they believe it. And then that way, when they come at you and they start bombarding you and attacking you with everything they know is right, then you can say, I understand what you're saying. I've researched what you're saying. I've studied what you believe. And here's the flaws I see in that and what I believe is the right way to go. And then you end up with a much better scenario, because if you know what the other person thinks and feels and understands and has knowledge of, and you understand why they're thinking that way, and then you understand what you believe, you have a much better opinion on what you believe, because you're not just believing it because you read it on the internet. You're believing it because you saw both sides and you chose which one was best suited for your individual preferences. Now let's look at a couple other areas where we need to keep learning. The other one is relationships. I believe we can continue to learn in a relationship indefinitely. With my relationship with my spouse, my wife, we've been married for coming up on 2 years now. And in 2 years, 2 very short years, I've not only learned a lot from her, but I continue to learn a lot from her. Not just learning anything, stuff she tells me, but even watching her. Whether she's picking up the green pen or the blue pen, or whether she's suggesting that we eat Mexican or Taco Bell. I don't know. I learn a lot just from watching her, but I also learn from listening to her. Listening to her tone of voice and how she's talking about certain situations, or what she feels in a certain situation, or how she's reacting to something I'm saying. And I'm always trying to learn from her. Whether you've been married 2 years or 22 years, you'll always learn something from your spouse. And then we can dive a bit deeper and say, always learn something from yourself, about yourself. See, I'm constantly learning faults that I have, strengths that I have. I try and write them down and pay attention to them more. Whether it be a strength, like I've noticed I'm getting really good with numbers. Or if it's a weakness, like, man, I really need to make sure I'm watching the way I'm talking, or making sure I think about things before I say it to certain people. Faults and strengths, or even the way I'm composing myself, the way I dress. Maybe I've noticed I've kind of slacked off on the way I'm eating. Just always learning something about yourself. That way you can better yourself, because if you better your mind, you better yourself. And the last one I want to talk about is your spiritual growth, learning spiritually. This is a tough topic for a lot of people, whether you are religious, whether you are spiritual, but you always need to grow spiritually. If you stop maturing spiritually, you become spiritually dead. And that can pose a very big risk to yourself, to others, to the way people see you, to the way you act, really to your entire life. It can really destroy you. So, with that being said, I want to close out by saying always learn something from every situation. You can always learn something from anything. If it's good, if it's bad, keep thinking about it. Keep growing your mind, keep growing your spirit, and make sure you're paying attention to everything around you, especially what's going on inside of you, not just outside, but inside as well. So with that being said, I'm going to continue to smoke my pipe, and I will see you guys for another video. If you haven't already, like this video. The big thumbs up really helps me. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I talk about all things manly, and also a lot of pipe, tobacco, and cigar content. If you're into that, go check it out on the channel. I've got quite a few videos out already, and I'm trying to post some every week for you guys. I'll continue doing my best. I'm just your average Joe with an average job, and I will see you guys for another video. Good evening, gentlemen.